following episode depicts acts of violence and describes in detail reported speculation and alleged whereabouts of a missing person and unproven reports of actions taken by family members, friends, and other relations. Listener discretion is advised. What happened to Sabrina Hatheway? Sabrina was last heard from on December 20th, 2014. In the weeks following, her ex-boyfriend, Kevin Crozier, with the help of two friends, tried burning down his grandmother's home on Dixfield Road in Worcester in a futile attempt to collect insurance money. 3 months later, in March 2015, Crozier and his co-conspirators were in court facing multiple charges, including arson. But none of the three men can provide, or are willing to provide, an answer on Sabrina's whereabouts.
Unsolved Worcester is brought to you by the following sponsors. Follow the crowd through the doors of Donut Homies and say hi to Haley Noel, the donut queen of Worcester's Canal District. This month, the specialty donut shop features special flavors like chocolate-covered strawberry and red velvet creme brulee. Donut Homies is open inside the Worcester Public Market at 160 Green Street every Wednesday through Sunday at 11 a.m. Online ordering with delivery and pickup options is available at donuthomies.com. Follow Donut Homies on Facebook and Instagram for monthly menu drops, specials, and more. Donut Homies, everything sweeter with the homies.
Welcome to Unsolved Worcester. I'm your host, Dan Yeager. In today's episode, we share part 2 of the unsolved missing persons case of 23-year-old Sabrina Hatheway, one of 10 unsolved missing persons cases we will share this season on Unsolved Worcester. In part 2 of the 2-part episode exploring Sabrina's disappearance in 2014, we take a closer look at the court proceedings of possible suspects in Sabrina's disappearance and the tragic aftermath in the years following. Unsolved Worcester will take a deep dive every Tuesday and Thursday into unsolved murders and missing persons cases under investigation by the Worcester Police Department's Detective Unit. We'll be looking to the past, to missing persons cases that date back as far as the early 1970s and 80s. The most important question this season is, where are they? The approach to Unsolved Worcester is this: shine a light on each of these cases, put a life behind each missing person's name, provide a timeline of events and important details, and ask questions that still need to be answered. Our goal is to remind residents of the Worcester area, both past and present, there are dozens of unsolved homicides and missing persons cases that need resolution. We hope we can be the spark needed to solve a case. In part 1 of our 2-part episode on the disappearance of 23-year-old Sabrina Hatheway in December 2014, we shared a timeline of events from Sabrina's ex-boyfriend, Kevin Crozier, and information from the Worcester County District Attorney's Office of Crozier's arrest. Today's episode will look at the incidents that followed the arrest, a brief reminder of the events leading up to it, and a tragedy that unfolded after Sabrina went missing. The fire at 11 Dixfield Road on January 1st, 2015 was deemed arson by investigators within 2 weeks. Police retrieved part of a stained mattress, paperwork with Sabrina Hatheway's name on it, and the drain traps from the home's sinks and bathtub. A burn pattern was found starting from the master bedroom through 2 other rooms in the house. Police didn't find any evidence of a homicide. Why was the fire set? Worcester police detectives determined Crozier, whose grandmother owned the home on Dixfield Road, and his 2 friends, Lionel Bermudez of Worcester and Scott Phelan of Millbury, conspired to burn the house down. Crozier offered Bermudez and Phelan $1,000 each to help him set the fire. Crozier was going to pay them after he collected the insurance money from the fire. But further investigation by Worcester PD discovered the Dixfield Street home wasn't insured, and Bermudez and Phelan never got their money. Warrants were issued for the arrest of the 3 men. On March 19, 2015, Crozier was arrested in Cape Coral, Florida, and charged with being a fugitive from justice. He was extradited back to Massachusetts in April 2015. Between the time of Crozier's arrest and his court date in Worcester Superior Court, one of his 2 friends, Scott Phelan, was indicted on charges of arson and conspiracy in late March 2015. Phelan pleaded not guilty and was held on $50,000 bail. Crozier returned to Worcester Superior Court on April 28, 2015 for his arraignment, where he told the court he vehemently pleaded not guilty to the charge of arson. According to the Worcester Telegram and Gazette, Crozier's attorney responded, saying Crozier hadn't had a chance to review the full evidence against him. He was initially held without bail, but bail would later be set at $150,000. A week later, Bermudez was arraigned and pleaded not guilty. He was released on personal recognizance. For each of these 3 men, it wasn't the first or last time they would appear before a judge. Crozier was convicted in 2006 for assaulting 2 men over the age of 60. And there was a restraining order against him from another woman from 2014 who claimed Crozier had assaulted her. Bermudez had been sentenced for possession of heroin with intent to distribute in 2011, and an early conviction in 2010 for assault with a dangerous weapon. Just weeks before his arraignment in March 2015 on the arson and conspiracy charges, Phelan was arrested 3 times for possession of heroin and shoplifting charges in January and driving with a suspended license in February. 2 years later, in March 2017, Scott Phelan and Lionel Bermudez were released from custody after pleading guilty to the arson and conspiracy charges. The pair were released on personal recognizance with GPS monitoring. Court proceeding records show that Sabrina Hatheway's ex-boyfriend Kevin Crozier hadn't sent text messages to any of Sabrina's relatives following December 20th, 2014. The last day Sabrina had been seen or heard from. Crozier's text message records did show that he contacted Phelan in an attempt to find someone to help him burn down the house on Dixfield Road. 1 year after Phelan and Bermudez pleaded guilty, Crozier followed suit. He pleaded guilty in 2018 and was sentenced to 6 years and a day, with more than 3 years time served. A week later, in May 2018, Phelan and Bermudez were sentenced to time served. Bermudez had already spent nearly 600 days in state prison on the charges. Phelan had spent 715 days in Worcester County House of Correction. Phelan and Bermudez were each arrested multiple times following their sentencing in the Dixfield Road home arson case. Phelan for receiving stolen credit cards, stealing a car, possession of drugs with intent to distribute, and more. From 2019 to 2020, Bermudez was charged with larceny, cocaine possession, and driving with a suspended license. Lionel Bermudez died in March 2022. Coming up next, we'll share how further tragedy struck the Hatheway family just a few years after Sabrina's disappearance. In April 2017, just over 2 years after Sabrina Hatheway disappeared, tragedy once again befell the Hatheway family. Early Sunday morning, April 30th, 2017, Sabrina's mother, Brenda Hatheway, was beaten to death by her boyfriend, Joseph Kinetic, in the middle of the street outside their apartment building on Harris Street in Webster. Kinetic admitted the couple had been using heroin the night before. The argument reportedly started around 3 a.m. that morning and went on for hours. The argument became physical, and the couple made their way outside where Kinetic struck Brenda. According to a report in the Telegram and Gazette, Kinetic punched and stomped Brenda multiple times in the head following an argument. First responders arrived around 8:45 a.m. When police arrived, Kinetic tried holding Brenda standing up. Brenda Hatheway was pronounced dead at 9:30 a.m. at Harrington Healthcare in Webster. An autopsy revealed Brenda had died of blunt force trauma to the head. In September 2019, Kinetic was sentenced to 7 to 10 years in state prison after pleading guilty to voluntary manslaughter. Brenda died not knowing what happened to her daughter. Nearly 5 years later, Sabrina remains missing. She hasn't been seen or heard from since December 2014. The last known person to see Sabrina, her ex-boyfriend Kevin Crozier, is no longer in prison. Sabrina Hatheway is listed in the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System. If she is alive today, Sabrina would be 31 years old. For more information about Sabrina, we encourage you to listen to or watch Part 1 of her story, which is available now on unsolvedworcester.com. Thank you for listening. I'm Dan Yeager. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, please consider clicking the like button for us. And if you subscribe, the next episodes will show up in your feed. Click the bell on the right and you'll get a notification of when the next episode is ready. If you have any thoughts you'd like to share, please leave them in the comments below. We do read them all and respond to as many as we can. Anyone with information about the whereabouts of Sabrina Hatheway are asked to contact the Worcester Police Detective Bureau at 508-799-8651 or send an anonymous text to 274-637. Write TIP WPD plus your message or send an anonymous web-based message at worcesterma.gov/police. Come back on Thursday. Season 3 of Unsolved Worcester continues the puzzling missing person case of Valdemar Feliciano, who left the house one morning in November of 2005 and was never seen or heard from again. Be sure to visit Unsolved Worcester on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Unsolved Worcester. Listen to all episodes for free at unsolvedworcester.com and on podcast streaming platforms including Spotify, Apple, Audible, and more. Special thanks to the Find Sabrina Hatheway Facebook page, Spectrum News 1, the Worcester Public Library, the Worcester Police Department, the City of Worcester, Ron Scott at New England Sky Picks, and our sponsors for making this possible. Information on the disappearance of Sabrina Hatheway was gathered from multiple resources, including the Telegram and Gazette, the Charlie Project, the Worcester County District Attorney's Office, the Worcester Sun, Spectrum News 1, This Week in Worcester, Go Local Worcester, the National Missing and Unidentified Person System, and more. The Unsolved Worcester podcast music is provided by Tom Lebelzik of the Worcester Jazz Collective. This episode of Unsolved Worcester is written and produced by Pat Sargent. Drone footage provided by New England Sky Pics. Videography and editing by Colin Turner. Victim images are courtesy of the Worcester Police Department. Sponsorship information announcer Chandler Walsh. Be sure to check out the video for this episode with exclusive aerial views and more on our Unsolved Worcester YouTube page. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't miss another episode. Click the notification button to get alerts when new episodes of Unsolved Worcester drop. This program is supported in part by a grant from the Worcester Arts Council and the National Endowment for the Arts. To find out more about how National Endowment for the Arts grants impact individuals and communities, visit www.arts.gov.